Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to the rundown for Wild Rift patch 5.1c. We have a whole lot of buffs in this patch, a few nerfs to some of the OP junglers. JAX's rework is going to come this patch, and also we've got Maokai, a new jungler coming to the Rift. But before we get into the video, I just want to let you all know that Riot has given me some codes to give away to you all is a random skin chest. So to enter into the giveaway for this video, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment anything down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on the patch, what you think of the changes, and maybe some buffs or nerfs that you'd like to see in the future as well for Wild Rift. I'll be able to read all of them, and also I'll interact with you all as well. Right, let's get into these patch notes. First things first, we have the newly released Maokai coming on June the 14th. I did a video already breaking down Maokai. If you want to go and see that, I'll link it in the description. I have access to the test server for Wild Rift, so I got early access to Maokai. I did a full rundown, a build, everything like that over there, so you want to go and check it out, you can do. We got some new features, new arena stuff, I guess. We got a new NPC and some new augments. Arena, cool, I guess. Earth and League of Draven. Is this just Draven, and more Draven? You're Draven and they're Draven, everyone is Draven. What sort of game mode is this? Earth times League of Draven. I don't know what to expect from this, but everyone's going to be Draven, I guess, and there's going to be a million axes swinging around. Cool. A new game mode again. Some events, Maokai's Trivia, they always do this. And now showing rotating modes. Try out a new lined up different game modes such as PvP ranked. Okay, we know all this. This is probably just an event to get you to try all the different game modes. And then we also have the Wild Pass as well, which is the new Wild Pass that's going to come out, like the mini Wild Pass they do at the end of basically every single cycle of the big patches. All right, let's get into the cool stuff. Let's get into the important stuff. First up is Zed. Now, Zed has not been very strong for a long amount of time. There have been some AP mages in the mid lane that have been very strong lately. You know, champions like Aurelion Sol and Syndra. And obviously, Zed is going to struggle a little bit against that. Also, I think just in general, you being able to buy status from your boots and chance. Yes, it is very expensive, but it counters a lot of Zed's damage. And I think in general, his damage has not been up to scratch. So they're buffing his ultimate damage. Damage of the mark, so damage dealt while the mark is active. So that is going up from 25, 40, 55 to 30, 42.5, and then 55. So a bit of an early game buff to Zed. Nothing really happening in terms of the late game, staying the same. But early game damage at level 5. I think this will help Zed snowball a bit more. I mean, at this point, when you're level 5, enemies are not going to have status. You're not going to be able to buy it, and also it's going to be very expensive. So I don't think a lot of players are going to be able to buy it. So maybe this is where you can actually get a snowball opportunity with Zed in the early game. Be very interesting. Wukong, interesting enough, they say that Wukong hasn't been able to clear through jungle camps. I'm pretty sure they wanted to move Wukong away from the jungle and more towards the barrel lane, but now they're buffing to try and make it more viable in the jungle. I don't know what direction Riot are going with Wukong, but anyway, first ability being buffed, this will help both the Baron lane and also the jungle as well. Help you just clear through the jungle. 10 damage buff for every single rank. AD ratio staying the same. And then Warriors Trickster's second ability also being buffed by quite a lot during the early game. From 17 seconds down to 14 seconds. And then going down to 12.5 seconds in the late game. So you can use them more often just to be a bit more slippery. I think this is mainly what it is for. But overall, some pretty nice changes there to Wukong. Again, a champion that has not been very strong. Kennen got nerfed a few patches ago now, about 4 or 5 patches ago, and just hasn't really felt the same. Base attack damage going up. This is pretty big for being able to just bully champions in the early game. Base armor also going up. Really good against AD champions if you get jumped on. Second ability, the passive damage is going up by 10 at every single rank. AD ratio staying the same. AP ratio staying the same. So just some base damage to help Kennen a little bit at all stages of the game. Also the third ability getting buffed in the early game, so you can use it a little bit more often. Pretty good changes for Kennen. I think in general, with First Strike also getting nerfed, you can go Electrocute on Kennen, and you can actually bully out champions a lot during the laning phase, and then you can look to try and snowball that into the mid and late game fights. Again, you just get easily countered by exhaust with this champion because so much of your damage comes from your ultimate, and you have to stand really, really close to enemy champions. But maybe this will help Kennen out a bit. We'll have to wait and see. Rakan buffs, base health being buffed. Honestly, I don't think Rakan is like that bad. I think Rakan's pretty decent. Base health being buffed, base armor being buffed. This will help him a lot during the laning phase as a support. And also the shield value going up by quite a lot, actually. 15 going up, 10, 5. Okay, staying the same during the late, but then a bit more shielding during the early game. So again, this is kind of buff Rakan during the laning phase, it seems like, and during the early levels. Late game is pretty much going to stay the same, which is okay. Diana, again, another buff. The first ability, the cooldown is getting lowered by 1 second. The mana is going down. The second ability also getting buffed pretty big, to be fair. 5% damage increase in ability power on the damage. The shield value going up by 10 at every single rank. And then the increase in shield after the third sphere detonates, that is also going up by 10 at every single rank. So a lot of survivability, you could say, with Diana, with the shield value and also a little bit of the damage. And also the cooldown and the mana going down for the first ability means that she can do a little bit more damage. She can help a little bit more. She can also clear through the jungle a little bit quicker as well. I do think Diana is a lot better in the jungle than the mid lane, especially because she is a melee champion. She is an assassin, which can struggle a little bit during the game. Yeah, I think she's a lot better as a jungler. Vi, base armor going buff, up, pretty nice. Second ability also going down at by 2 seconds at every single rank. So now you can get the shield from your second ability 2 seconds quicker now. And this doesn't, you know, put into mind like all the ability haste that you can build with Vi. You know, things like Trinity Force, Black Cleaver, items like that you're going to give you ability haste. So overall, this is pretty nice. Shyvana, I just don't think this champion is good at all. I think Shyvana needs more buffs than this, to be honest with you. You grant 15, you get 15 stacks instead of 12 stacks now when you get a champion takedown, which most of the time you're not going to get during the early game because you're just AFK farming, slaying a Rift-Held or Baron. The problem with this is that by the time you get to Baron in the late game, it's not going to really mean too much to get 3 more stacks. Slaying Rift-Held, you never want to take Rift-Held with Shyvana anyway. You want to take the first dragon because the first dragon gives you 35 stacks instead of 15, which is still a lot better. Yes, it might help you with the taking down enemy champions. You know, even if you get an assist, for example, you can get some stacks. 3 extra stacks, I don't think it's going to mean too much. 5 extra damage on the second ability. I think this champion's still going to suck, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe I'll give Shyvana a try. I mean, very easy champion to play. Doesn't really require that much skill. But yeah, most of the time you're just AFK through the jungle. So I don't think this is going to mean too much, to be honest with you. Gragas buff again. I feel like this is happening for like the 3rd patch in a row, or maybe 3 times out of the past 4 patches. Health regen, scaling off more of maximum mana. This actually kind of helps tank Gragas a little bit, which is kind of cool. Tank Gragas sometimes gets played in the Baron lane, which is pretty nice. Second ability, the damage reduction going up, especially in the early phases of the game. And then the damage, wow, oh my god, the damage in the early game is going up by quite a bit. 30 extra base damage. Holy moly, that's actually pretty big. I'm pretty sure you max this skill last, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's first ability you max first. Is it the second ability for the third ability for the cooldown for mobility, or is it the second ability? I'm not really too sure. It might even be the second ability now, just to get maybe that little bit of extra base damage, you know, from 60 up to 80. But even so, like, most of the time you're not going to max this ability first anyway. So basically, you're going to be getting that 30 base damage quite often during the game. It's not going to be just through the early game, which 30 base damage might not seem like quite a lot, but it scales with 90% of your ability power as well, which obviously with Gragas, you build a lot of ability power, which can be quite nice for him. Again, another jungler that has just fallen out of the meta, so it'll be interesting to see if he is able to come back up. Ezreal being buffed again, and honestly, this buff is just blowing my mind. Base armor going up, which is huge for Ezreal to be able to just trade more during the laning phase, especially against like these ADCs that are super aggressive and want to play forward and aggressive just in general. Base armor is nice. Mystic Shot, 15 extra damage, 15 damage, 15 damage, 50. It's going up by 15 damage, Mystic Shot. What are they thinking? They're just trying to make Ezreal this unkillable demon that just does so much damage. Because look at the cooldown as well of the Arcane Shift. 4-second buff in the early game. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and then obviously 1 second during the late game. But this doesn't really matter because you're going to be buying ability haste anyway. And obviously you can reduce the cooldown of the third ability anyway. But still, this is such a huge buff to Ezreal. I mean, I didn't think he needed this big of a buff, especially to his first ability. Maybe a few buffs here and there, but I think this might make him completely broken. Honestly, like these buffs are just out of this world. Disgusting. Yone, a few tweaks. Base armor going down. This is to kind of stop Baron lane. Yone at the moment has been very, very strong and dominated for a while. Also, you can play mid lane Yone. This kind of stops that a little bit. Mainly Baron lane, because obviously Baron lane champions normally do AD damage. But they are buffing his first ability damage. You can see... Oh, actually, no, it's kind of just adjusting. 5 damage here, nothing here. 5 less damage and 10 less damage. Okay, so give him a little bit of buff at level 1, but then reducing his damage later on. I don't think this really matters, because once you get like 2 crit items, you're going to do a lot of damage anyway. Damage to monsters also going down by 10%. This is kind of to reduce his jungle clear speed, which is quite fast, to be fair. I don't know how to feel about this with Yone. Like I said, I do think Yone is very, very good at the moment in the Baron lane. He's been strong for quite some time now. I don't know if this is going to do too much. I mean, this is definitely going to hurt a little bit, like 10 less damage, because this is always the ability that you max first. I think Yone will be fine. I still think Yone will be okay. Apparently, Crit Viego was too strong. I never actually tried Crit Viego. I know there were a few Chinese players that were trying Crit Viego. Honestly, I've never seen Crit Viego in EU, so I think this is more of a China adjustment sort of thing, because I never really saw it in EU. Maybe I just haven't played that much, or maybe I just haven't been as lucky to see Crit Viego, but most of them still buy Divine Sunder or Trinity Force or that anyway, so hey ho. Blade Ring King damage on the second auto attack. That's just been nerfed in general from 30% down to 20%. So a pretty big nerf there. Damage from the active. So this is from the activating your first ability. So the base damage is staying the same. The attack damage ratio also staying the same, but now it only scales as 75% times your crit rate. So it doesn't scale as much with crit anymore, basically, because what happens is you do the times first, because it's just basic bid mass. You do 100% times your crit rate, which is, you know, if your crit rate is like 100%, then whatever. And then instead it's now 75% of your crit rate times your crit rate. So you're not just getting as much damage anymore when you're buying crit. Same with the ultimate as well, it seems like. That's also being adjusted. This says the exact same thing as this. Am I blind? 120 to... Oh, it's 220. Oh, 210 here. Oh, okay. Wow, that's actually kind of a big nerf. 120 to 210 now instead of 240. And then the bonus damage, the base damage is staying the same. And it's only 6% of your bonus attack damage. So pretty big nerfs actually to the ultimate. 30% nerf here. 1.5% nerf here, which is pretty big. First ability also getting nerfed by 10%. So they're doing some pretty big nerfs to Viego, not just with the crit. I mean, this is the only crit nerf. So I'm not too sure why they're saying this, because in general he's getting nerfed by a lot. So hey, nerf to Viego, always good. I mean, the champion is annoying to play against, fun to play, don't get me wrong, but annoying to play against. Lilia being this is so stupid. 2 patches ago, let's buff Lilia, she's too weak. 2 patches later, oh, she's too strong, let's nerf her. Basically what they've done is I've kind of compared these to pre-buff Lilia. So what Lilia was like before the buffs 2 patches ago. And basically what they've done is they've kept the first 2 levels the same now. So now the first 2 levels are kind of the same. So the 35 and the 55 on the first ability. And then the late game, she's dealing more damage. The same with pretty much all of these abilities. I compared these to the pre-buff Lilia from before. So it's still a buffed Lilia from how she was originally, but she's just not as strong as what she is now, basically. So she's still stronger than pre-buff, but she's not as strong as now. Like I said, the early game damage is pretty much the same, but they've buffed the late game damage just in general. Ability power ratio going down is not too bad. It's only 5%, so it should be okay. 5% here as well, which also should be fine. 5% here, 10% here, which is pretty big on the center damage. These are all nerfs in general because they didn't buff the AP ratios before. They only buffed the base damage, if I'm not mistaken. So all of these are just nerfs in general from pre-buff Lydia, but the base damage have all gone up. Base damages are still up in the later stages of the game. Really interesting. Hecarim, I'm not too sure how to feel about these. Growth health going down from 120 down to 112. This is an interesting change they're doing. So just to explain this, so basically the rampage mechanism. So with Hecarim, you click your first ability first to charge it. And then what you can do if you want to is you can double tap your first ability and you can proc it straight away. So you can proc the damage straight away. It's not going to be as much damage as what it is when it's fully charged up, but you can still click it in advance if you want to cast it. Now you don't have that choice. Now there's actually kind of a bit of skill involved, I guess you could say. Whereas you charge your Hecarim's halberd for 0.75 seconds, increasing the area he deals damage to. Now it automatically casts when it's fully charged. So you can't recast this ability now. You can only tap the ability once, it will charge, and then you can't tap the ability again. You have to wait until it's fully charged. Now, I know what people are going to say, and I still think the same kind of thing as well, as they're trying to make Hecarim a bit easier, I guess, in a way. But to be honest, most people are not really double tapping that much. I mean, a little bit if you wanted to do that quick, little bit of damage later on. This basically means now that you need to time your first ability to make sure that you deal the damage to the champion and the champion doesn't flash away or anything like that. Because like I said, you can't just double tap the ability anymore and quickly deal that extra little bit of damage. You have to wait until it fully charges, which is only 0.5 seconds anyway. And also this is the damage dealt. So now it automatically casts when it's fully charged. That is very interesting. I mean, I think it goes both ways. I think there'll be skill involved in terms of you need to make sure that you time the ability correctly, but also at the same time, there was also skill involved to know when to reactivate your first ability. You know, can you fully charge your first ability, or can you tap your ability straight afterwards to deal with extra bit of damage? So I think this goes hand in hand with this change. Very interesting. I'm not too sure how this is going to feel in game. We'll definitely have to give it a try and see how this feels in game. Devastation charge, continuous movement speed increase, going down by 10%, so not as much movement speed anymore with Hecarim's third ability. JAX's rework coming on June the 20th, so still like 2 weeks away, basically. I don't know why they do this, but I guess they just want to kind of do it whilst it's in this patch. I love how they put the meme, babe, wake up, it's time for JAX's rework. Oh, God. Let's have a quick look. Oh, damage, wait, empowered, damage to monsters, 125%. Wait, they're trying to make JAX more of a jungler again? They nerfed this I mean, they nerfed, wait a sec. Oh no, but they still have, I'm pretty sure the passive still doesn't stack on jungle camps. It doesn't say any changes to the passive in this. I wonder if JAX's passive is going to stack on jungle camps again. This is interesting. They're trying to make JAX more of a jungler, I guess, giving you more damage to jungle camps. Interesting. Leap Strike doesn't scale with ability power anymore, so Riftmaker is kind of dead. Not really, maybe dead. Actually, no, I think Riftmaker might still be okay, but that not scaling with ability power anymore is pretty big. And they just haven't buffed the damage at all. It's just all stayed the same, but they've just removed ability power ratio. Okay, interesting. Counter-Strike damage has gone down, but now scales with the target's maximum health as magic damage. Okay, so instead of physical damage, it's magic damage. Okay, maybe I lied. Maybe Riftmaker is still going to be okay. Because it doesn't scale with bonus attack damage anymore. It now scales with the target's maximum health and does magic damage. This is the big part. The ultimate. The ultimate is now not just gives you armor and magic resist. This is exactly like PC League, I'm assuming. Passive. Do an additional magic damage with every third consecutive auto attack he launches in 3 seconds. That basically looks the same as before, the passive, which is fine. This is new thing active. Swings his stave, dealing ability power magic damage to nearby enemies. When hitting only one enemy champion, you gain some armor magic resist equal to 6% of that armor. If he hits more than one champion, he gains bonus armor and magic resist equal to 60% of that armor for 8 seconds per additional champion hit. During this time, his size increased by 10% and he deals additional magic damage with every second attack, which is pretty cool because you have the auto attack reset with your second ability. I mean, this ultimate has been so much better, I feel like, on PC League than what it is on Wild Rift. I'm not too sure in terms of comparisons to PC League, what this is like. I'll probably do a video on JAX's rework when it gets released on the 20th of June. But overall, these look pretty cool changes. I kind of like them. I've always been wanting this rework for so long. Kind of the same as Aurelion Sol. Like, Aurelion Sol's rework took so long, but the champion just feels so much cooler now. This is a buff I've been saying for so long. For those who remember back to my item tier list video, no one builds this item. Legit, no one builds this item at the moment. Very interesting. So they're buffing the health you get. Mana stays the same, ability power stays the same, but now you stack every 40 seconds instead of 45 seconds. So now you actually get full stacks 50 seconds quicker, which is kind of nice. You also get a little bit extra health. You get 50 extra health. Mana and ability power stays the same, but now you can get it a little bit sooner, which is kind of nice. I can't work this out on the top of my head. Hold on, I can maybe quickly work this out with a calculator that you cannot see. 40 seconds times 10 divided by 60. Okay, 660. Wait, it's still 6 minutes. Yeah, it's still 6 minutes, which is still kind of meh. What was it before? 45 times 10 divided by 60. Okay, so it's 1 minute quicker. Well, that's actually, oh yeah, it's 50 seconds quicker, of course. It's about 1 minute quicker. So before you got fully stacked at 7.5 minutes. Now you get fully stacked at 6.5 minutes. So it's 1 minute quicker. It might be okay. I mean, that might be a pretty good change. I still think it's too slow because if you got it before the first Drake, then I think it'd be maybe too strong. They're doing it so you get fully stacked just after the first Drake. We would definitely have to try this on some champions. I mean, this could work really well on like Swain, for example. You know, getting more HP is quite nice for him. So yeah, pretty good. Again, another thing that I've been saying for so long, this rune has been disgustingly broken for such a long time. You getting 3% max health for so long and you just getting stacking maximum health throughout the game is just way too broken. So finally they're nerfing overgrowth as well. You only get 3% maximum health instead of 3.5%. I still think this rune is incredibly broken, but I still think it needs some more nerfs, but hey ho. So new skins, Karma, Lee Sin, Volibear, Set, Thresh, Marsty, Mythic Chroma, another gacha probably. Meowkai is going to be our first skin. That's a cool skin, by the way. And Infernal Shen. So that's everything. A lot of buffs this patch. Like I said, a few nerfs to some of the OP champions in the jungle, but a lot of buffs this patch to test out and a lot of buffs to have a look at. I'm definitely going to be looking at like the likes of Ezreal is going to be very fun to play. Kennen is going to be pretty fun to play as well. Shyvana will be quite interesting. And even like champions like Yone as well will still be fun to play, I'm sure. Yeah, overall pretty good. Like I said, if you want to enter the giveaway, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, let me know what you think of this patch. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next Wilder video. Peace.